All right, so you know that feeling, right? Monday morning, you're like unstoppable, ready to take on the world,
Oh, yeah.
hitting the gym, all about those salads. But come Wednesday,
Hmm. Yeah.
suddenly those veggie burgers are looking pretty good.
It's so true. And it's fascinating because our brains, they're kind of wired for this. Like for real, it's
Good.
actual science. These motivation roller coasters, they happen to everyone.
Roller coasters that seem to like always derail right before we get to where we want to be.
It's the worst.
Well, that's kind of what our source material is all about today, like why this happens and what we can do about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And in this deep dive, what we're going to do is we're going to dig into like the difference between discipline and motivation
Yes.
and why discipline is it's like the real deal. It's what makes those awesome habits actually stick around even when the initial excitement kind of fades away.
Yeah, because let's be real. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just bottle that Monday morning feeling and make it last?
Oh, that'd be incredible. But instead what happens is we end up chasing these fleeting bursts of inspiration. Like we watch a motivational video, we're all fired up, but then nothing.
And like trying to fuel a rocket with a birthday candle.
That's
That
that's such a good analogy because that's essentially what we're doing, right? We're relying on this short burst of energy
Mhm.
instead of like actually building a
Yeah,
system.
so what our source material is saying is motivation is kind of like a sugar rush.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
We get that initial dopamine hit, that excitement, the the feeling of what's possible. But just like with sugar, it fades away so
And
quickly.
then we're left feeling kind of deflated, like we failed, even though it's
Yeah,
really our brain chemistry just doing its thing.
exactly.
Hmm.
And that's why just relying on those external motivators can actually backfire.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. You see a fitness influencer out there, living their best life, and you're instantly motivated to overhaul your entire routine. But then reality hits.
Yeah.
You miss a workout, you have a slice of pizza, and suddenly that motivation, it's gone. Just like our New Year's resolutions.
Ugh, tell me about it.
Right.
It's almost like we're programmed to chase that initial high instead of like actually building something that lasts.
And
Yeah.
that's the key difference we got to talk about because
Mm.
real lasting change,
Yeah.
it doesn't come from chasing those fleeting bursts of motivation.
So if motivation is so fleeting, what's the secret ingredient? What can we actually rely on when those initial feelings of like excitement start to fade away?
Well, that's where discipline comes in.
Discipline. Okay, I got to be honest. When I hear discipline, I picture those motivational posters, the ones with the eagles soaring over mountains.
Right.
Not exactly inviting.
Totally. But it doesn't have to be like this big scary thing. Our source material, it really emphasizes that discipline is less about, being superhuman and more about building like mental resilience.
So instead of trying to be like a productivity robot, it's more about training our minds to focus on the long game.
Exactly. Can you
Yeah.
think about like building a muscle? The more you use it, the stronger it gets. It's about, consciously choosing to show up and do the work,
Yeah.
even when your brain is telling you go back to sleep or you're like totally distracted.
So we're not controlled by our emotions. We're learning to kind of regulate them, make choices that actually match our goals.
Exactly. It's like, building a house. You need that strong foundation, right, to weather the storms. Discipline, that's our foundation for building good habits.
Okay, I like that. That's a great visual. And our source material talks about building habits too. So how does that work with discipline?
So discipline is like the engine that makes those habits happen. It's those little things, the consistent actions, the everyday choices. They might not seem like much on their own, but over time, they totally add up to big results.
It's like that saying, right? A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But in this case, it's about like actually taking that step every single day.
Yes. And here's the cool part. Those small wins we get along the way,
Hmm.
they actually fuel our motivation. So it's like this positive feedback loop.
So we're basically retraining our brains. We start finding that satisfaction in the actual process, not just the finish line.
Yeah. It's about finding joy and showing up consistently, even when it's tough.
Okay, this is starting to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, how do we like actually use this? What are some things we can do to get more discipline in our lives?
So our source material gives us a fantastic roadmap. It's 5 actionable steps we can take.
Okay, lay it on me. What are the steps?
All right, so step 1, and this might be the most important one, is setting a clear goal. And I don't mean those vague things like be healthier or be more successful.
Right, because those are about as useful as a...
Chocolate teapot. You
Exactly.
got to be specific. So instead of like be healthier, maybe it's cook a healthy dinner at home 3 nights a week. Instead of be more successful, how about land 2 new clients this month? The more specific, the better.
Specificity is key. I like it. All right, what's next?
Okay, so once you have that awesome goal, we got to break it down, make it into smaller, manageable tasks. Because let's be real, looking at a huge goal all at once, it can be totally overwhelming.
It's like trying to, I don't know, eat an elephant in one bite.
Exactly, but smaller tasks, those are doable. Like instead of
Yeah.
cleaning your whole house, you just focus on one room. Suddenly, it's not so bad, right?
I am all about breaking things down into like bite-sized pieces. Makes the whole thing way less intimidating.
For sure. And each thing you check off your list, no matter how small, it gives you this feeling of, yes, I did it. And that keeps you motivated to keep going. It's like building a brick wall, one brick at a time.
Love that visual. Okay, so we set a goal, break it down. What's next on the list of discipline tricks?
All right, this one might not be as fun, but it's important. We got to embrace the discomfort.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. I was wondering when we'd get to this one. Nobody actually likes being uncomfortable, right?
True, but here's the thing. Real growth, it rarely happens when we're like chilling in our comfort zone. Discipline sometimes means doing things we don't really want to do, pushing through that resistance, whether it's getting out of bed when that alarm goes off or choosing the salad when all you want is a burger.
It's about the long game,
Yeah.
even when you just want that instant gratification, right?
Precisely. And that actually leads us perfectly into the next step, which is rewarding ourselves.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Rewarding ourselves, huh?
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely more my speed. So we're not talking about like total deprivation here, right?
No, no, not at all. Celebrating the wins is important. It keeps us motivated, and it reinforces those good habits we're working on.
So let's say I've like totally nailed my goal of cooking healthy all week. Maybe a weekend brunch at my favorite spot is a good reward.
See? Exactly. But the trick is to pick rewards that, they match up with your big goals, your values. So maybe hold off on that giant pizza after a week of eating clean.
Okay, good point. No sabotaging ourselves with our rewards. All right, so we've got setting clear goals, breaking them down, embracing the discomfort, even treating ourselves along the way. What's the final piece of this discipline puzzle?
The final piece, and it's often overlooked, is accountability. Having someone, in your corner, someone who knows your goals, can offer support, maybe give you a little nudge when you need it. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's like having a workout buddy, right? Like if you're on your own, it's easy to skip the gym, but knowing your friend is waiting, way more likely to get there.
Exactly. It's like having that external support system while you're still building that discipline muscle on the inside.
Yeah.
Could be a friend, family member, a coach,
Right.
even an online group.
Right. Find your people. So just to recap our discipline toolkit here, we've got setting clear, specific goals, breaking those goals down into smaller steps. We're embracing the uncomfortable stuff. We're even going to reward ourselves. And we're finding a buddy to kind of keep us in check. But that's a pretty solid plan, right? But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you said earlier. We talked a lot about discipline today, but
Mhm.
but what about motivation? Does it have any place in all of this?
Oh, absolutely. It's not that motivation is useless. It's about like understanding how it fits in. Remember that analogy from our source material? Motivation is like that initial spark. Discipline. Discipline is the fuel that keeps that fire burning.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we need that initial like excitement to get going, but we can't just ride that wave forever.
Exactly. Motivation might be what gets you to like sign up for that online course or buy that healthy cookbook, but it's discipline that makes you actually show up and do the work day after day, even when you're not really feeling it.
So we're not waiting for those motivation bursts to strike. We're building a system that keeps us moving forward even when motivation decides to take a break.
Exactly. Think of motivation as a bonus. Nice little tailwind, but don't rely on it to be your main engine.
Discipline is the engine, and motivation is like finding that lucky tailwind. I like it.
There you go.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into discipline versus motivation, what's the key takeaway here? What do you want our listeners to really remember?
It's simple. Motivation is a great place to start, but it's discipline that's going to get you to long-term success.
Mm.
Discipline helps you push through those tough times, get over setbacks, and reach those big, awesome goals.
It's about building those consistent habits, those daily actions that move you closer to where you want to be even when it's hard.
Yes. And here's the best part. When you start building discipline in one part of your life, it's like this ripple effect starts to spill over into other areas too.
It's like a superpower you're building. And on that note, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and as always, we'll catch you in the next one.